This is Sean Spiff Flynn from the GameSpy Arcade crew. I'm here with David Lawrence, and we are hosting IGN GameSpy Livewire live from E3 2005. I got it right again. Yes, the lights are on. The power is working. I'm sure they're only on because we're not standing on our stage trying to do a live broadcast.
The moment we get on the stage, the moment we got everything set up, especially for the video guys, boom, the lights would go off for a minute. And then they would come back on, like, gotcha. Oh.
It's been taunting. The city of LA has it in for us today, I think. So, but we are here taping some interviews for everybody, and right now we've got Gavin Carter, who is the producer from Bethesda Softworks on Elder Scrolls 4: Oblivion. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
You having a good E3 so far?
It's been great. It's been a blast. It's been a lot of power slip-ups, but been fun.
Yeah, so you guys have been suffering from this too?
Yeah, we actually have a tiny room that we're packing a lot of people into, so it gets very hot very quickly.
So what I've heard is there's no air conditioning in the rooms, and that's how they're actually getting you some juice to run your demos and things like that right now.
We have problems with computers overheating, and we have packed the place with fans, but it's going well. It's going well.
Just so you know, this is not indicative of the city of Los Angeles in general.
I won't hold
so when you head back to D.C., just don't bring a bad image back with you, okay?
Promise.
All right.
They have no infrastructure problems in D.C. whatsoever.
No, until it snows.
Right.
At which point, the shelves of all the giants are emptied.
Absolutely.
So there you go.
So tell us a little bit about Elder Scrolls 4: Oblivion. When's it? Give us an overview of the game and.
Sure. Well, Elder Scrolls 4: Oblivion is what we call the RPG for the next generation. We went back, looked at all our old games, Arena, Daggerfall, Morrowind, and we looked at what works, what didn't, and we took all those things and took them to the next level. So it's really hardcore RPG gameplay, combat, stealth, magic, dialogue, taking quests, everything taken to the next level.
So what do you mean by taking it to the next level? Like, give me an example of one of those things and how you've accelerated it and launched it up a notch.
Sure. We have what we call Radiant AI, which is our 24-hour a day, 7-day a week AI system, which allows us, all the NPCs in the world have their own lives. They go about their business. Some of them have jobs. They have schedules. They eat. They sleep. They read. They interact with one another. That's how we're taking our NPCs to the next level. We've totally changed the way we do combat. It's action-oriented. We have power attacks. We have normal attacks. We have active blocking. You can cast spells while you've got your sword out. We're trying to get that kinetic feel of combat, of guys bashing each other with swords. Lots of blood, lots of gore, lots of fun. Those are just some of the ways.
So Morrowind's known far and away for being so versatile. I mean, if you want to do just one small part of the game and just be the best at doing that, if you want to be a werewolf, you can be a werewolf and be done with it. You don't have to engage in any. So how do you decide in a world where you've got so much variety and so many different things that you can do, what didn't work? Because I'm sure you're going to make a decision on what didn't work, that is going to really tick off somebody who just loved that part of the game.
Right. Well, it's impossible to please absolutely everyone, but we listen a lot to what our fans have to say on things, our message boards. We're constantly active on our message boards, taking in their ideas, and, from within as well. We're a constant wellspring of new ideas. New ideas are never anything we're on a shortage for. So we have long pre-production periods with our games where we just try a lot of crazy stuff out, and we see what's fun and what we like, and we try and put those things in and take them as far as they'll go. Mm-hmm.
One of the other things that the series is known for is its really advanced graphics, and what we've heard is this is going to be a launch title for Xbox 360. What are you guys doing in terms of the graphics that's going to blow people away this time? What are we going to see?
Well, visuals are a big focus. Obviously, the Xbox 360 is a very powerful machine, lots of power to spare. So we're taking everything we did in Morrowind and doing more of it, basically. In Morrowind, we had the shader water, the pixel shaded water, which was very popular. So we decided with Oblivion we were going to take that even further and put pixel shaders and vertex shaders on every object in the game. So we do parallax maps, normal maps, diffuse maps, glow maps, refraction maps, everything you can think of. And we've thrown it all in there. We're doing full forest scenes with trees, bushes, wildlife, forest cover half our world. Everywhere we can, we're punching up the graphics and using every bit of power that machine offers us.
So what does this translate? I mean, what does the user see? Are you going for a ultra realistic looking world? Like when I look at a tree, am I expecting to see a tree as it would appear in the real world, or do you guys have a certain visual style that you're trying to shoot for with all of this?
It's a combination of both, really. In our environments, we use photo reference as much as possible to try and make sure things are as accurate to real-world things as possible. So all our trees are actual real-world trees. I think for the most part they are. Of course, we have a fantasy element as well, obviously. So we have, crazy dinosaur-like creatures. All our creature stuff, all our architecture and town graphics are sprung from the imaginations of our artists. We give a lot of freedom to our artists to produce the kind of content they want, to realize their vision. So we get a mix, we get a whole range of things, but overall, photorealism is definitely something we shoot for.
I wonder, gaming in general, but certainly RPGs, the gamer tends to value things that in any other form of entertainment would be behind the curtain. Oh my God, that leaf is so realistic. Oh my God, that blade of grass is individual. How long do you think it's going to be before we get to the point where we're not as concerned about how cool the technology is versus how cool the gameplay is?
Right. Well, I think with things like Xbox 360 offering us all this power, it only makes sense to try and take advantage of it. I think visuals and things like that are a great part of what makes games fun. Visuals are what really immerses us in the experience. Gameplay, obviously, very important. When will gameplay become more important than visuals? I don't know. That's a really tough question to answer.
It just seems interesting that that so many people take advantage of all the engines and the capabilities and the power, and then use that as a feature, well as it's not just sort of like the thing you'd read off to the side in a sidebar in Time magazine about it, but here's the realism, and by the way, the game is really cool and playing the game is really cool. But it's a story that people tell in this world that they don't tell in, for example, movies or television. It's not like you're going to television, you're going, we're shooting this on digital. It's beta. So you just don't see that.
Right. Well, that stuff makes, screenshots and visuals make for good sound bites to really get people excited. Gameplay concepts tend to take a little bit longer to explain, but for things like for Oblivion, we're really trying to use the power to enhance gameplay as well. For example, integrating Havoc physics into everything. So you can throw things around the world. When you swing your sword around, you knock things around like you would expect to in real life. Even stuff like our fireball spells will work like a rocket launcher and blow people around. It's great, great fun.
So we've heard a lot about the technical side of this game and kind of some of the mechanical elements of it. Can you give me an overview of what the story is going to be like? Is this going to be, what's the single-player experience going to be like for this game when it launches?
The single-player experience will be, it's basically, the game starts out with you as a prisoner, just like every Elder Scrolls title. The Emperor comes into your cell, he's fleeing from assassins. So you play through, the first part of the game is a flight from these assassins with the Emperor and his guards that you just get wrapped up into. So you're fleeing from these assassins.
You
and
see what happened?
glitch. Sorry. So you're fleeing from the assassins and you're creating your character as you go along. Over the course, the Emperor gets assassinated. Because there's no blood heir on the throne, the bonds that hold back these demons from this demon realm we call Oblivion are broken, and the demons come swarming in through these gates. So we like to think of it as like a demonic war movie, where your job is to stop the invasion, to find the lost heir to the throne, and restore this bloodline that keeps back the demons.
So if you're in prison and you're a prisoner of the Emperor, presumably, who is fleeing from the assassins, what's your motivation to assist him? Why not help the bad guys?
Right. Well, you don't really have to assist him. The thing is, the secret passage that leads out to the world just happens to run right through your cell. So at first, it's a way out. Yes, very convenient. At first, it's a way out. Once you're on the surface, we let you, have free reign with what you want to do. If you want to be an evil guy and go around killing everybody, you can absolutely do that. If you want to be good and help, you can do that, or any shade of gray in between.
So the story really is going to be crafted depending on what you choose to do whether you choose to go kind of, help the good guys, help the bad guys, this game is really going to form itself around those decisions that you make.
That's correct. Yeah, it's for as much as possible, we try and implement multiple paths through our quests for, like I said, good, bad, and everything in between.
So we've heard a lot today from developers who are really trying to get towards more of a sandbox feel with some of their games. They don't just want to have this linear gameplay style that leads you down a particular story path. It's more like, here's the world, here are the quests, do what you want with it in any order that you want, complete it at your leisure, just go in and have fun. Are you aiming for that, or is this more of a traditional linear kind of a game?
Absolutely. Well, at Bethesda, we've been doing that sort of thing, since 1995 with Arena, with Daggerfall, Morrowind, now Oblivion. We've taken that further every single time. So we like to say, yes, here's this whole world that exists on its own that you can just go out and explore as you like. So there are random things like random dungeons around the world that you can find. There are quests that don't necessarily link up to the main plot line. If you want to go straight through, the game does a great job of pointing you to the next objective with journal entries. We have map points that will show up that point you in the direction you're supposed to go. So you can take either path in Oblivion.
So we've mentioned already that this is going to be a launch title for the Xbox 360. Obviously, this week. Yeah, crossing our fingers. Do you have any other platforms that it's going to be released for, or are you just shooting for that particular one?
We hope to do a simultaneous PC and Xbox 360 release.
Okay, so obviously there's a lot of attention focused on the Xbox 360. People have all sorts of questions, especially after that giant Microsoft press conference where they unveiled some of the features. What Xbox 360 features are you taking advantage of with this game that might not have been available to you on an older platform?
The great thing about Xbox 360 development and console development in general is that it's a fixed platform, so you know exactly what you're dealing with, and you tend to be a lot more risky than you might be otherwise with like a PC where you're dealing with all kinds of different configurations. So great things about the Xbox 360 are like the multi-core processor, where we can break up our games across those three processors instead of just trying to funnel it all through one. Sound processors, the graphics processors on there, all very powerful. They allow us to do a lot more things. For example, we can pipe all our AI data through one of those processors and just, do a lot more with that than we could if we were trying to render and do AI all on the same chip. So this is the kind of thing we're trying to take as much advantage of as possible.
We know it's exciting that new platforms offer up new hardware that you guys can push to the limits, as David was mentioning earlier in an earlier interview. Are there any challenges? What is it like as a platform to develop for the Xbox 360 or other platforms? Is it we know it's a fixed platform, but does it have its own challenges or rewards on top of that?
Absolutely. Developing for a platform that's not actually available that's not actually available at the moment it's a risky proposition because, development hardware running development software, it's like, how games are at beta. Imagining playing a game that's at beta on hardware that's also at beta. So it's kind of a compound problem. But the guys at Microsoft are absolutely a dream to work with. They give us all the help we need. They're always there for us when we have questions. So that's been a real treat to work with those guys.
Excellent. So, David, have you got any?
Yeah, I imagine that when you're doing sort of a dual development process, it's like any time, going back to the days of Macintosh when Guy Kawasaki had to walk around to all these developers and go, I don't have a box for you. I don't have a toolbox for you. I don't have any sort of software development tools. I don't have anything for you. I have no money for you. Would you work with us? The things have changed a great deal, and with premier partners like you guys, I'm sure Microsoft is supporting you nicely. What was the first? I just really, you go back to those moments when that first box arrived, and it probably looks nothing like it came out with. They went over to Japan to get a design, and they went all kinds of places. What did the first thing that you got to develop with look like?
The very first development kit, I think it was a Macintosh G5, basically. It had it had two G5 processors. I'm not really sure.
That's a story. That's a story. Can you imagine somebody telling Bill Gates, by the way, we're going to send out the first development kit as a Macintosh?
Yeah, I think it was a surprise to everyone.
Yeah.
But it's running on Motorola chips, I believe, which is the same as Apple, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. And how much functionality has changed over the last, 3, 4, 5 months?
Well, they pretty much provide updates constantly as things get done. So it's really, it's just started to come together from, a loose kind of, some things work, some things don't, some things are emulated, to getting towards that final hardware spec where you can actually see that your game is going to work and look really great on this hardware that they're providing.
Was there anything that they did that broke something you created?
That kind of thing is just a fact of life in developing hardware and software. It happens all the time, yes, on both ends, our end and their end as well.
Great. So we were talking yesterday with the editors, kind of what the general E3 experience is for everybody. We get a lot of our fans out there who are begging for us to take them to E3, and we just shake our heads and go, "Why? Why would you want to come spend 12 hours writing articles and staying up all night?" What's the E3 experience like from the perspective of the software developer who comes to show off his game? Like, what's your day like here at the show?
Very, very tiring. It's pretty much constantly just demoing the game over and over. We do demos once an hour on the hour, and after every single demo we have to go over what went right and can we fix the things that might have gone wrong. So there are all kinds of problems that we have, like with the AC problems I was talking about. We were worried about computers overheating. Getting all our stuff out here from DC is its own challenge in and of itself. But yeah, my experience, unfortunately, I haven't had lots of time to walk the floor or anything like that. I've been mainly concerned with, pushing Oblivion on all the people out there.
One question that I've had from friends who are wondering what the importance of E3 is, what does E3 do for Bethesda Softworks, or, as a developer, what value do you guys get out of coming to the show and showing things off? How does this fire your year off?
Is this the kind of show that you have to do even though there's really no visceral benefit from being here other than you have to take 3 days out of the office and, and a bunch of planning time and everything?
Right. No, there's definitely a benefit in the fact that, the world gaming press is right here, right now, and they're all excited about our game. They want to see it, and they want to write about it. The downside of that is that they're also excited about everybody else's game, and they want to write about that too. So,
but you're here,
right?
You're talking.
Exactly.
So that's good.
So we're going in the right direction, I think. But yeah, it's definitely good for getting the word out there.
In fact, now you can just simply go home. Now that you've done the IGN GameSpy Livewire, you can pretty much leave, I think.
Yeah, this is good for 25, 30 million people. So it's.
You're set for the next few years.
I'll take that into consideration.
Is it, being you think, being in Seattle's an advantage, being in LA's an advantage. The talent is here for voice work, for stuff like that. Is it hard to develop elsewhere? We've certainly gotten the word from people. Yeah, it's it's kind of isolated, and you're not really like right in the heart of it. But there's a plus to that as well, that you can sort of concentrate. What's your experience?
Yeah, I would say that being in DC, it's got pluses and minuses. We're not pulling from the same gigantic pool of talent that we have in California. We have our own pools of talent out there that we pull from.
You're here.
What's
You're
that?
here now.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
My point of reference is off. Being in LA, there's great voice talent here. We did Patrick Stewart for our game, for the voice of the Emperor in Oblivion, and we ended up flying out to London to do him. So, wherever you are, there's going to have to be, places you can go. There'll be interesting challenges you'll have to face. But we love DC. We're in love with it. So,
enjoy.
Yes.
It does seem like there is kind of a little pool of like a development pool over there in the Maryland and DC area. There's a few studios out there. That's kind of exciting.
Big Huge is out there. Who else? Firaxis is right down the road. We have our own studio. We have our own separate studio in Baltimore that does our drag racing titles.
Palmer, baby.
I believe
down to Hammer Jackson.
I believe there's some studios up in New York area as well. Yes, Hunt Valley is where Firaxis is too, I believe.
Awesome. So, if there was one thing about Oblivion you wanted people to take away from this time that you spent with us, what would it be?
That Oblivion is the game that will define the RPG genre for the next generation of consoles and PCs. I think that's what you have to take away from it.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Gavin, for coming in and sharing some time with us. Have a great rest of your show. Hope the AC kicks in for you guys sometime soon, for our sake as well. So, signing off for this particular segment, this has been Sean Spiff Flynn and David Lawrence with Gavin from Bethesda Softworks. We'll be back with a few more interviews here on IGN GameSpy Livewire, live from E3 2005.